Folks, let's give them a hand, would you? Great folks. I have to say that because they might push me off the stage. No, I'm only teasing. Listen, we're getting ready to launch our fall life groups. I know you're saying, well, it's still blistering hot. I know, but fall's going to be here real soon. Pastor Craig Groeschel, in my study for the Christian Atheist, he said something very powerful. I'm going to be talking about this kind of stuff this morning. He said, I lost a very close friend of mine. It was only 32 years old. He said, I didn't understand it. It was tragic, and boom, he's gone. He said, I'd like to tell you that I had the words to say to his family, that I had the words because they asked me to preach his funeral. He said, but I was so torn because I was so close to him. And he said, but a knock came at my door. And when I opened the door, he said, it was members of my small group. He said, and those members come around me and they just wrapped their arms around me and we just cried and prayed together for the next hour. He said it was more about their ministry of presence, just saying, hey, pastor, and it happened to be the pastor, it could have been anybody, we're here and we love you. And we're believing God is going to give you the very words to say and to help you get through this. Everybody here has been through some things. There's no doubt about it. But I want to just ask some of these folks. They have either led a good life group that was very successful, or coordinated, or hosted, or something along that line. So I'm going to start out with Sister Cheryl. If you'll just tell us something that life groups has made an impact or change in your life.
For me and for my husband, when we started out the life group, I think I've said this before, we kind of had a preconceived idea as to what it was going to be like, but once we got into the nitty-gritty of it, we found out that we learned some things that we didn't know, and we were encouraged, and we were encouraged to do some things, to make covenant with one another, to do some things in prayer. We learned about one another. We learned about a group of people that maybe we didn't know before we had met for the first time or really didn't know a lot about. We got to make family relationships with people of like-minded faith. But what I wanted to say most of all is what Wayne and I experienced. One of the parts of the prayer group book and the challenge was that we would pray together, that as husband and wife, or if you weren't married, didn't have a spouse or whatever, you would find somebody to covenant with and you would pray. And you would agree that you would pray every morning, every day, that you would get together and you would seek God and you would pray and ask God for the blessings and things like that. So we did that. We challenged everybody in our group to do that, and Wayne and I, because we let it had to be on board, and we had to do it ourselves. Now, my husband Wayne, he would pray and he would read his word, and I would pray and read my word, but there was something different about us coming together to do that. And so even today, I would encourage you, husbands, wives, children, mom, dad, whatever, covenant with somebody that you can pray with, come in agreement with. But what I saw out of that was, as we began to pray, Wayne and I would pray for our family, and we would believe for the salvation of our children. And what we saw God do is we came together and began to pray. We began to pray for our daughter, Jennifer. And I might just start crying because it's so amazing. Singing these songs this morning just makes me so aware of how amazing God is, and how blessed I am. But we began to pray together every day, and we began to covenant together, and we began to pray and lift up our child, and we began to say, God, I'm asking you to bring her home to you and to save her. And we saw God do that. Yeah. We prayed separately, but there was something about it when we came together and began to pray together, and we united in faith, and we believed God to do what was impossible for us, but possible with Him. And today I stand here telling you our daughter has come back to God. She sits in this congregation today. She's a vital part of this church, and she's hungry for the presence of God. And it's amazing, church, to see God do that. But I'm telling you, it came out of that prayer group. It came out of us coming together. Even as various ones of us in the group, we would pray for one another. We would pray for needs and things like that, and we saw God move. I encourage you today, get involved somewhere. Be a part of a life group somehow. Covenant together with people, because it makes a difference. If two or more are gathered in my name, His word says, God can do some amazing things. Amen?
Amen.
I believe it. It can happen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sister Cheryl. Amen. WC is our newest life group leader. He just led and leading a very successful group, minimum of attendance of about 11 or 12, and on upwards of 18 or so. And so they're doing a wonderful job. Tell us just a brief moment about what God may be doing in your life group or life.
Well, you know, a lot of what I've been getting from the message has been serving God. You know, each one of us was put here for His pleasure. All of us, in some way or another. And we studied that in our life group. But, you know, part of our praise to Him can be through serving.
Amen.
Ever since I've joined the church, I was, at my old church, I was reluctant about getting involved and getting out and knowing my church family. But, you know, when I came to church here, I wanted to move forward in my relationship with the Lord. And, you know, He began to speak to me and tell me that, you know, serving Him is going to be one way for me to get closer.
Amen.
Our group has been amazing. Getting to know our church family has been amazing. And I encourage everyone to join a small group of some kind, because we are a family, a church family, but we're a family. And how can you get to know your family 1 hour every week?
That's right.
And honestly, it's been a huge blessing.
Amen.
And I'm very thankful.
God bless you. Brother Mike Hewlett was my coordinator, Kelly and I's coordinator for our first group on parenting. We got to know Mike and Tammy a lot better, as well as the Strons and different ones. And I've asked Mike to share some things because he was really blessed in life groups and was a tremendous asset to us as well. And this, I believe, is his second semester as well.
Whoa. You need to turn these lights down, boy. I can't say enough about life groups. You know, I heard a lot about Sean Strong, but he's a good guy, y'all. He's not bad. And he can eat. You know, that's one thing we learned about the life group. You come in here on Sunday mornings, and you might see 4 or 5 people. I'm speaking on a person that I'm outgoing. Everybody knows that. But people that are real to themselves, they'll come in the morning. They might not speak to 2 people. But if you get involved in a life group, you have a whole family that you can talk to. You can, I know in our first life group, we had, one night we only had a few people. And it got, we heard some things that people just need to kind of get off their chest. Or they won't tell people here on Sunday mornings, but in the setting like that, with a few people, they will.
That's right.
And it's been great. The new one with WC and them, it has been great. We've gone through a lot. We've heard a lot. And God is working. And I believe God is going to use these life groups to take our church to the next level.
Amen.
He's not going, He'll do it here. But when you get in and you get closer as friends, you're not going to make a whole lot of friends here on Sunday morning.
That's right.
Because you come in the door, you listen to the pastor preach, and you leave. In life groups, you sit down and you talk with each other. It's like a family atmosphere, and it has been great. I have enjoyed it. If you haven't joined one, if you don't do nothing else, just look at the sheets and see if God has something for you, because there's something for everyone, from the young at heart to the oldest. Amen. There's always something to do, and I thank the Lord for what He's doing in our church.
Amen. Thank you, Brother Mike. Christina is WC's bride, and she shared with me the other night some very unique experiences that they had in life groups. I'm going to let her share just a brief moment of that.
This one? Hello? It's on. Oh, hi. I just wanted to share that it's amazing how God works in the life group. You can sign up for it and think, oh, I like the title of this. This is Beth Moore. This is going to be a good one. But once you get in there and you start meeting the people and you hear their experiences, I know for us in our life group, we've got 2 other people in our life group that has suffered a loss of a son. And that is just incredible how God works, because He's putting people together who can share and just share the same hurts that you do. And you had no idea when you put your name on that piece of paper that that's what you were going to get. But that's God working where we can't see. And He's forming these groups. You know, we can put it out there and pick titles and pick a great group, but God is actually the one who is forming the groups, because he knows what he's doing when he's putting us together in these groups. And so great things can come out of them, and it's been a really good experience for us.
Tara is our associate pastor's wife, and Ken and Tara have led several now successful life groups, and always have had great attendance in their life group. Tara, share something with us.
Well, since I'm the last one, a lot of the stuff that's already been said is really similar to what I was going to say. But first of all, I wanted to say that when we come here to the sanctuary on a Sunday morning, many of us, we have maybe 3 or 4 minutes to speak to somebody. And we're running around, good morning, how are you? Good morning, how are you? How's your family? And then we're off. We're running, we're running a race, especially the ones of us that are working in ministry. And so to be in a life group, you get an opportunity to sit down face to face, eyeball to eyeball with somebody and listen and to hear and to speak with these individuals. And I want to just say something about one special couple. We have a wonderful life group going on right now, Believing God. And we have been believing God for some major miracles in our life group. We have a lot of people in our life group that are suffering cancer. So we have been strongly believing for healing of these people in our life group. However, there's one couple in the life group that has really touched mine and my husband's lives simply because we've seen them come out. Now, they may have been out of their shell at home, but they're not out of their shell typically, normally. And that is Kyle and Robin Rapp. They're in our life group, and it is amazing how you meet these couples, how we open up. We have so much in common. And had I not been in a life group with them, had they not signed my paper and said, we want to come and be in covenant with you, we would have never had the opportunity to build a relationship. Get in a life group. Find something that you're interested in. Get in and get in covenant with a good group of people.
Amen. Thank you. Excited to have you in the house of the Lord with us today. Can we give all of our guests a hand? Come on. Amen. You're probably wondering who these lovely folks behind me are. And let me just say, as Pastor Josh said, we're getting ready to launch our fall semester life groups in October. So we have to think, several months out. And what I want you to do right now is to consider something. We're getting ready. In fact, we've already asked a number of you, and many of you have already come aboard, and we thank God for it. And in fact, we heard testimony last week from about a panel of 5 that people have gotten saved because of life groups. People have joined the church because of life groups. People have been ministered to. In one particular life group right now, we have 3 families that have one thing in common. They all lost a son. Can you imagine? And as Christina shared last week, when you walk out there and you sign up, or else you do it online, wherever you do, you think, well, I'm just signing up for a group that sounds good. And you don't realize that it's a divine appointment, that God's working some things to put you in some places and with some people that you need to be with. All of these that are with us today, Jennifer and Sean and Shantae Strawn, they have served as hosts. That is a tremendous ministry. And right now up on the screen, if you'll look at that, I'm going to give them a moment to say just a few words to you. And let me say, everybody don't have the gift of hospitality. Amen. I mean, if you're like one of the, how many of y'all seen the show Hoarders? Hoarders, huh? People that you have to have a pickaxe to get through the living room. Now, we can't go have a life group in that house. But people that have the gift of hospitality, that know how to smile and just love on people, and are willing to say, hey, what's mine is God's, and I'm willing to share it. And that's what these have done. And so as they testify right now and share some things, I want you to consider hosting, perhaps, or at least opening the dialogue. If you were to email office@HarborWC, just one word, host. Or if you were to text it to that phone number there, one word, host. Just text it to that number. Someone from our office will call you this week before Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And we will chat with you and at least get into the dialogue about hosting. So let me ask Jennifer. She just started hosting, her and Henry Brown just started hosting this past semester. And I've understood that they've had a wonderful group. I'm going to ask her perhaps just to share maybe some significant ministry experience or what God has done since she opened her home.
If you haven't hosted, please consider it. It has been a pure joy. It's easy. When Tara had asked us to host, of course, I said yes, and we had a pre-meeting with our coordinator and our leaders. We set the date and the time. You know, they work around your schedule. There's been a couple of times that we actually had to change our dates. So, you know, once you set the time and date, you know, things come up in the family, things happen, and so we've been able to actually change it to a different night. One thing is that through this, I've really grown closer to people here in the church and to God. Ours was Believing God, and those peeps of mine, they know what that stands for. But Believing God is what we're supposed to do, but sometimes it's a lot easier for us to believe God for others than it is for ourselves. And one thing that this really has helped me with is believing God for what I need and not just for what you need.
Amen. Thank you so much. Amen. Give her a hand. And thank you so much for hosting. And you know, hopefully I won't get in trouble saying this. I wanted Sister Jan Gillett to speak up here, but she said, Pastor, please. She said, I will host again. I love hosting. Me and Billy love hosting, but we cannot get on that stage and talk to people. And so maybe, you know, I'm trying to help her with that. I said, well, you don't have to. God bless you. She says, I'll host again and whatever. We love it. And they're wonderful hosts. And they've actually hosted both semesters. But anyway, now we'll turn our attention to Sean. In fact, Dr. Strong got saved at a life group. No, I'm only teaching. Anyway, share with us. He and Shantae was Kelly and I and Mike and Tammy Hewlett. They were our host as we done our parenting life group last semester. And anyway, just go ahead and share something with us about that.
Sister Brown said, one of the things about the hosting is that, you know, or the life groups, it is about relationships. You know, I heard someone say recently, last week Sunday I think it is, oftentimes we come to church and we see people for about a minute or so, but we really don't get to know people. And I think life groups connected us to our pastor and other people at the church that we would not otherwise had relationships with. Again, at our word, relationships. Hosting for us, I will say this about the hosting. There was no real work on our part. As far as, you know, in the beginning we thought we had to make everything perfect and clean the whole lot, but it really wasn't that. After a while it was like, oh, that's just Pastor Mike. You know, Sean left his no, I didn't do that. It was okay. But, you know, we became family. And that's something that's lacking in our world, in our society. Neighbors don't know each other. You don't remember back in the day, neighbors should know, you borrow a can of flour from so-and-so down the street and all that stuff. You know, we don't do that any longer. And that's one of the things we learned. I will say this. Life groups hosting has also blessed our house. There's a story in the scriptures about when the Ark of the Covenant was away from the people of God and things had gotten messed up, and this guy named Uzzah touched the cart, and they had to go learn how to handle the presence of God. And this guy named Obed-Edom was the person who kept the Ark of the Covenant inside his house. And the scriptures declare that God blessed everybody. Obed-Edom's house was extraordinarily blessed from keeping the presence in the Ark of Covenant into his house. And I will say this, our bills have been met. We've never lacked anything. God has been gracious. God has been so good to us, more than you could ever imagine. And I believe that's because we hosted the presence of God.
Come on now.
Come on, somebody. In my house.
Yeah.
So, if you want the presence of God and the blessing, host a life group. Go ahead and try it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I promise you, see if God won't open the windows of heaven up to you and pour out blessings that you will have room not enough to receive.
Amen. All right.
What
Give
he
him a hand,
said.
would you?
I guess you could tell who is the talker in the family. But I'm not going to reiterate what he said, but I think he talked about our expectation with hosting. We've hosted in the past parties or different things, and it was always something that happened every now and then, but it's something different. And women, I guess you could identify with this. When someone comes into your home every week, you feel like you have to have everything perfect. There has to be, the dishes have to be clean, the floor has to be mopped, everything has to look like this image. But after the first couple of times, and I think we were a little bit anxious and nervous because we're having a whole bunch of people, we were very unfamiliar with the ministry at the time, and a lot of people were new to us, so we were new to them. And so when you're walking into someone's house, there's often this anxiety or this type of unfamiliarity. And when we got to know each other every week, like Sean said, we felt like, oh, that's just Pastor Mike coming in, or that's Cherie coming, or this one's coming in. I didn't care if we had a couple of dishes still in the sink, or, the floor wasn't swept, And one thing it did teach our kids, to clean every week. Now, I think that will, if you've got a lot of kids, host, that will teach them to clean a whole lot more than they did. But we did enjoy the whole parenting group. We actually did learn a whole lot from the ministry. But, yeah, what he said.
Amen.
Our kids were a little hurt, Pastor Mike, after the life group was over because everybody brought food over. And so my Christopher was like, you mean we ain't having no more food over on Tuesday night? They ain't coming no more. He was hurt about it. But I will say this, because we did have small kids. The time, Pastor Mike, was so, even though it got good, it got really good, we wanted to stay over, and the time was the time. And when it was up, it was up. So there was no infringement upon our time, our kids' time, or our family time, or anything. It was just a really, really good experience. So I encourage you to sign up to host for the life groups.
Amen. Let's give our panel a wonderful hand.